There is one story dominating Washington right now, and if passed, it will have deadly consequences.
Overnight, the Senate Budget Committee releasing their final, updated version of what President Trump calls his Big Beautiful Bill.
Big Beautiful Bill.
Big Beautiful Bill.
Big Beautiful Bill.
Congress is working to pass Donald Trump's huge tax and spending plan, which he has dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill. The bill, which is definitely big, but certainly not beautiful, has been slammed by Democrats and Republicans alike.
Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill, now on the floor of the Senate, is one of the most dangerous pieces of legislation ever brought forth in the modern history of our country.
That this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made.
So why does everyone hate it? Because it is a massive transfer of wealth from the bottom to the top. According to the AP, the bill contains roughly $3.8 trillion in tax cuts, mostly for the super wealthy and huge corporations. If passed, the top 1% of American wealth hoarders will see a reduction in their yearly tax bill by tens of thousands of dollars. The bill will also give huge amounts of money to Trump's personal Gestapo, ICE, to carry out the largest mass deportation ever, and it includes billions in handouts to defense contractors to build a huge missile defense system that is both totally unnecessary and has little chance of working. But the bill has a huge cost the mainstream media won't cover: human lives. To pay for these massive tax cuts and handouts, Trump and his Republican cronies will cut over $1 trillion in funding for public health insurance. Most of that, $1 trillion, will be cut from Medicaid alone, the government-run health insurance program for lower-income workers and those unable to work. But cuts will also affect people on Medicare and Obamacare. But those cuts don't just make life difficult for some people. For tens of thousands, it's a death sentence. According to a study from Yale and UPenn, the cuts in Trump's Big Beautiful Bill will lead to 51,000 deaths every single year. That's 51,000 people who will die so people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Mark Zuckerberg, three key Trump supporters, can pay less in taxes. But these deaths aren't just wrong, they're murder. They're what the socialist thinker Friedrich Engels calls social murder. You may know Engels as the co-author with Karl Marx of the Communist Manifesto. Engels, who studied rapidly industrializing living conditions in England in the middle of the 1800s, articulated exactly why this is murder. In his 1845 book, Conditions of the Working Class in England, Engels wrote, "When society places hundreds of workers in such a position that they inevitably meet a too early and unnatural death, its deed is murder just as surely as the deed of the single individual." Translation: if you cut off somebody's health insurance so they can't receive life-sustaining care, it's just as much murder as if you walked up to them on the street and shot them in the back. Only one of these things is legally permissible under our current system, and one of them is not. You don't have to look far to see what social murder looks like in practice. 21-year-old Jesse Smith from outside Minneapolis died because he couldn't afford insulin and was rationing it instead. When the cost of 22-year-old Cole Schmittnick's inhaler went from $65 to $500, he couldn't afford to buy a new one. 5 days later, he died from an asthma attack. And shortly after learning she had ovarian cancer, 52-year-old Anna Marie Markle was laid off from her job. She stopped treatment when the cost spiraled out of control, and within a year, she was dead. These stories are just a small sampling of the millions of people who die every year because we treat healthcare like a business instead of a human right. But it's not fair to say that these people died. They were killed. They were murdered by policy choices and business decisions. This is the brutal logic of capitalism at work. The wealthy didn't get rich by accident. The system is designed to work exactly this way, funnel money up to the top, no matter the human cost. Under capitalism, profit is always more important than people. But here's the thing, this isn't inevitable. Other countries have figured out how to keep people alive, and we don't have to live in a capitalist system forever. Canada, the UK, France, Germany, all have universal healthcare systems that guarantee healthcare as a human right. The resources exist right here in America to do the same. We spend more on military contracts in a single year than it would cost to provide Medicare for everyone. The money is there, it's just in the wrong hands. So what can we do? Call your representatives, organize in your communities, join mutual aid networks. Don't stop talking about this. Work to change hearts and minds. And recognize this for what it is, not just bad policy, but murder that can be stopped. For Notice News, I'm Andrew Springer.